Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Hello and welcome to Radio Reflex, episode 5, season 3, with new, very special guest Sam Yang, as well as myself, Iain, and Alan, as always. It's going to be an exciting episode. We've been trying to get Sam on the cast for a little while, so all those questions that you've got about crack baubles and stuff will be answered today.
To be fair, Iain, Sam has wanted to come on the podcast for ages. However, sometimes my planning abilities are this basically. So Sam fortunately has been with me through lots of cross messages on the internet saying, next week, definitely do it next week, Sam.
No, it's been good. I'm again on that, so it's good timing. It's good.
We finally got Sam on the cast. So today's cast is pretty much just going to be talking to Sam. We'll talk about all the Blitz strategy and me and Ian's competition next week. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about by then. But yeah, let's introduce Sam. This is Sam Yang. What we'll do is, just to begin with, if you're just catching the stream now, is we'll go through a few. Ian, if you want to bring up a few of his pieces of his art, Ian will bring up. Now, Sam, of course, is first of all, he is a fab illustrator and also an Auckland-based illustrator. He's done a bunch of cards for the game, some that are very well known. I wrote a list just to make sure I got them all right, but he's responsible for the likes of Benji and Crucible, Megantic Shockwave, also in Crucible. One of my favorites from Crucible, Remorseless, there, and of course, probably one of the best known cards in Fab altogether, Dash, Inventor Extraordinaire. Of course, both versions, young and old. Pedal to the Metal, which was also from Arcane Rising. That's just some sweet Dash artwork by Sam. And sorry, that's come up very small, but possibly Sam's. This is actually the card that has been printed in all 3 sets. So as far as set cards, this is the most printed card out there. Not to mention, of course, his Ira from his Ira card, the head jab from the. Which is which this card, of course. Sorry, it's a little bit small, but this is the card that obviously introduced me to Sam's artwork the very first time that James got me up to the studio to play a game and see if I'd go for the job. Sam's through 3 sets now. Sam's had a pretty illustrious career, and you should know who he is. So Sam, let's just kick off with the simplest questions. Who are you? How did you get involved in Fab? And tell us a little bit about you and your art.
Okay, so I guess who I am. I was a concept artist before, and now during the day I'm a games art lecturer, so I teach painting and drawing. But then what started as like a personal art hobby kind of stuff became this Fab TCG art, which has been just an amazing like roller coaster, seeing it kind of just grow so much, the product like just exploding. But so that's kind of the little trajectory I had, concept art to illustration, or concept art teaching illustration. Man, I've got goldfish memory. What was the other question you just asked? You asked that, I think, 3.
Let's talk about your current. So where do you teach? Because you're obviously Auckland-based like us. Right. Where do you teach, and how long have you been teaching for?
I've been teaching for 4 years now, so time just goes so quickly. I teach MDS, so Media Design School. They're the one that's, I guess, paying for some of their film students and also the game students. So I teach in the games course, and I teach mainly concept art stuff, but the core of it is 2D painting, digital painting, that kind of stuff, Photoshop, in a nutshell. Yeah.
Where did your art journey actually start off? Like, were you a prodigious artist as a child, or did you come to it late? What set you off on art? When you were.
I have a clever. I guess I'll start super early and just cut me off if I start to ramble, because I'll just go on and on.
It's fine, bro.
Cool. Okay. So my dad is an artist. So I grew up watching him, I guess, do. Back then it was like before like digital stuff, so watercolors and ink and stuff, and it was graphic design illustration. So, stuff on packaging, like mostly illustrated stuff. And he loved drawing superheroes. So I grew up with all these Marvel like comic books around me, Marvel, DC, and stuff. I never knew anything about the stories, and I still don't. Like, I'm this wannabe geek who has access to all this stuff and likes all this stuff, but doesn't know any of the story, anything like deeper than the pictures. So I had all this stuff around me, and it's weird. As a kid, I think like as a kid, your parents are like your superheroes. So I always wanted my dad to redraw characters I liked. And so I'd get him to draw these like monsters and stuff that's already there. He'd just copy them and I'd be so excited. So then when I grew a bit older, I wanted to do that too. I kept copying pictures. And then in school, I think because of that, it set me up to just start drawing early. My dad was really heavily involved in kind of teaching a little bit at the school I was at, like some art stuff. And they would have these yearly competitions. And he would I would enter them. And it was a little bit like I was cheating a little because he would kind of draw these little draft sketches and then I would take that image and I would redraw it and color it and stuff and then kind of win. And it was kind of like, it's kind of dirty, like looking back, but I got those pictures done, but so always copying. In fact, I think the earliest memory I have was, so I grew up in Singapore and I moved to New Zealand when I was 10, then Australia, then to New Zealand again. I'm jumping all over the place. But in Singapore, kindergarten is like a big thing. Like students like studying. It's like so important. The whole like stereotype of Asian students and all that. So in kindergarten, you're great. Like you learn basic mathematics and all that. And there's art stuff. So there's at the end of kindergarten, it's like art competition. And I remember we all got these coloring sheets of snails, and we were meant to color them in. But this one kid, he drew snow in his picture. So he colored and he put little white dots everywhere of snow. And everyone was like, oh shit, this guy's stuff is amazing. So another kid drew rain and I was like, I need to do something too. So I drew rain as well. I came in third and I won a little soft toy. So it's like a lifetime of copying people's stuff. It's like that started off, I guess. But then later on, it just became, I guess, my thing. And I think with most artists, it's most artists who, I guess, pursue it as a career are just ones who kept drawing after, as you went on, as people kind of moved into other areas, you're still being a kid and drawing stuff. So I think I just stuck with it. I guess to bring it back to New Zealand now, when I moved over here, I moved to Wellington and I got into Pokemon cards. And I used to always go to, back then, there was a store called Berserk Bros. I think that was the name. Which is now Pulsar, right? Pulsar. And back then, and there was a guy who worked there previously called, sorry, I'm dropping all these names in places, called David. David was his name, Asian dude. And he used to have a photo of anime drawings of like girls. And I had only drawn like muscly men up to that time because superheroes, all like big dudes with muscles. And then I saw that and like I saw like he had like people loved like check out his little photo and I would too. And it's like, oh, these are, like I guess I was like 10 at the time, like chicks, So I started drawing anime girls and then it became this thing where through like the little communities, through like cards and then meeting certain people like David, I started drawing, like I kept drawing, and eventually I moved to studying animation for school for my bachelor's. Realized I hated animation at the end of it. And wanted to do concept art and games because I didn't even know that existed back then. And then I realized, you can draw pictures that get turned into, moving things. You don't have to make everything move yourself, kind of thing. So I pursued that afterwards, like kind of swearing to never do animation again. But I couldn't get a job in concept art, so I was only getting animation jobs. So I was forced to do it. And I was doing anime DVD covers for a company called Siren Visual for a while back in Australia. So, to jump, I moved to Australia to study end of high school and also the uni stuff. And so I was doing stuff for the DVD studio there, which they were like, Siren Visual was Madman's competitor over there.
Right.
And I think it was owned by Madman's owner's brother. And so I did stuff for them for a while. And then I moved to New Zealand for what was a game studio that's now closed called Gameloft. They made mobile games. So that was my first concept art job. And so I stayed there for a long time. And the stuff I worked on was like My Little Pony, all these like My Little Pony, My Little Pet Shop, Ice Age, very like meme centric things.
Right.
Um, but for mobile, so it's it's not the fancy it's not fancy like the movie is. Like kind of without saying some bad things about mobile games, they were a bit watered down, and made to be, I guess, casual. And then afterwards that closed. I did stuff for animation again, but as a concept artist. And then I started teaching. So I've just gone over this long. I guess I've just rambled and gone everywhere. But then I started teaching, and it's been 4 years since. And then the art stuff. And so how I got started with the fab stuff, I always thought it's because Robbie or someone saw these cards I used to put at my convention tables, because I always do the Armageddons, and I used to do the Overloads and Chromacons and stuff, the art conventions here in New Zealand. And so I briefly did artwork for a card game that's now gone called Legend of the Five Rings. So I did stuff for them as they were going out. And so I couldn't even get a hold of the cards that I did because they were just gone suddenly. And someone was nice enough to give me like a few. And so I would always put them on my table. And when Robbie, the creative director, who's this dashing, handsome, super intelligent guy, I can't do it.
In no way has Sam been put up to saying that. This is all honestly from the heart, isn't it, Sam?
But so when he contacted me, I asked like, how'd you find me? And so he said, oh, we saw your stuff at like one of the conventions. So I always thought it was those cards, maybe you saw that I'd done cards before, so he got me to do those cards. Except at the last, at the Fab birthday party that just passed, someone asked me about other cards I worked on. When I mentioned Robbie, I was like, oh, I didn't know you worked on those. So I guess it was like more random. That I always made this like, story of like, and I even tell my students like, hey, just put all your stuff there because maybe we'll see you've done something similar and you get more work. But it wasn't. I was basically lying. I guess that wasn't true. But I think that's how I started. Sorry, I just like rambled on for ages.
Yeah, no,
that's right. No, that's what we wanted. People want to hear. Okay. So, what was the? I won't say anything. What was actually the first card? Well, I mean, how did it go? Robbie gave you an email and said, we want you on board, or how did that process go?
So it's a funny one, and I guess to maybe other artists who are listening, or people who want to do this kind of stuff, if anyone like that's checking in, you get used to getting lots of requests, and even as you're starting, you get requests from like family members, and then people would just hit you up on Facebook, on ArtStation, everywhere, asking you for stuff. And often it's pro bono, often it's a really passionate person who, as well, but maybe it doesn't have the mileage to go. And so there's always this like fear as an artist. I think when you get approached with a new project, you're like, I don't know how it's going to pan out. But they sounded like they sounded legit. There was all that stuff kind of already set up, some things set up already when he came and spoke to me. And so I took on the two first pieces, which was Crack Bubble. That was the first piece I did, and the hijab. Right. And then there was a school showcase, and Robbie and MJ popped up, and they showed up to the showcase, and I met them there, and that made it kind of like real, like, oh, these people are, they're legit, they're around. And then I guess, Crackball was the first one. So it's like, it feels really good to see it now. Like, like you mentioned, like in all the sets. And then we did Head Jab 2. And with Head Jab, there's actually a second version I haven't posted or anything, which is a painted version, which is the original version I had done. And then, so we had this conversation, and we decided like, Robbie had decided, let's try something kind of crazy, And so, more out there, let's kind of push it a bit. And so we landed with this thing that's, really different from everything else. But there is another version of hijab, a third version, I guess, that's just in the vault.
Wow, that's a little spoiler there. That's cool.
Yeah.
But,
it's
drive
not
people
like
wild.
Yeah.
So what's the actual process? Because neither me or Ian have much to, the creative team is over there, and Robbie has this process. What's like the process for doing a piece? Like, how does Robbie, like, what do you get, to start you off? What's the communication like with the team? How's that process for you?
I have a feeling, this is my gut feeling, that I think Robbie actually approaches it very fluidly depending on how each of his artists work, because he kind of brings up stuff with me that I feel like he has already kind of estimated that this is within my wheelhouse and it's what I would like to do. And I think that's how we start. So usually it feels like it's stuff I'm interested in. So I feel like he does that extra work first and kind of figure out which artists want to do what. And so he comes to me then with a brief and the details, maybe, certain parts of the lore, little bits to hit, maybe even Easter eggs that, are meant to be there and stuff like that. And then we get started. And with those things in place, the key things, it's really nice in that he kind of lets me, mess about and do what I want. And then we just keep iterating and keep talking. Actually, working with the creative team at the studio, at Legend Story Studios, is, I guess, one of the closer things I've done where there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of back and forth, and we send stuff back here and there. Robbie might sketch over stuff, MJ might jump in and sketch over something else too, and there's just this big cycle and moving back and forth, which is what you really want. I think as an artist, you want there to be connection, a conversation. What's really scary is to I've done projects like this where you don't hear back for a long time, and then suddenly you hear back and they're like, it's approved, the sketch is approved, you have 1 week, go. And then you're just hoping that the things you think are going to turn out a certain way do when it's in print. Sometimes they don't, and then you're not happy with it yourself, and then maybe they're not happy with it, but it's that miscommunication sometimes. And with Robbie, it's really good. So it's often, I'd say, brief and then key things to hit, because they're really, I guess everyone knows this, they're really big on they're super passionate. So the lore and everything is really core, to their Easter eggs and all the little things in there. And then I'm free to mess about and do what I want. Which is why I think he kind of chooses people he thinks would like the stuff, because then he lets me kind of have free reign a little bit within what he expects me to do anyway. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Excellent. So you had your first two pieces, the head jab and the cracked bauble. So the next art you actually did was for Arcane Rising, and this time you obviously got Dash. So what was it like working on Dash, and I mean, how close to the brief did you think you hit Dash? Was that ever an issue, or did you bring anything to Dash that maybe Robbie and MJ hadn't suggested?
So the brief was really massive for Dash, which was amazing. And so we did the concept stuff. You checked out that one picture, which was one of the concept pieces, I guess the more polished one. But even then, there are differences from that one to the actual final illustration, some little edits here and there. There's all these little details. Yeah, that exactly. Oh, that's so cool. You can pull it up. There's all these little details that they had in mind, and it was kind of a lot was floating. And at the same time, it's they threw me all the stuff that could be on there, because I guess with how Dash is, Dash can kind of switch up her stuff, make things on the fly, invent things. So there was a bit of that freedom, but there were all these things that would be cool if she had, And so for Dash, I had started with kind of a base that MJ had designed. So there was kind of something of the hairstyle and the basic clothing below, all the gear. So this rough design, and then we work with that, and I sent stuff over. There were many iterations on the exact the outfit you see there, with the the mechanical outfit. So lots of changes. Think about how Dash would move, how the different pieces would work, and so as much as I could, I was really into making it functional. I'm sure there are bits with everything that will need more fine tuning, but I think more or less those things kind of could move. Which was the fun part, like the glove. Trying to make that so, it's like a knuckle duster at the same time as being able to pop out screws and all these little things, gadgets.
Cool.
Yeah, one thing I will say about Dash, which was really cool, was that because I had done the Dash card, the Dash Hero after Pedal to the Metal, after this one, and so when I'd done the Dash one, when we started the brief and we started talking about it, everyone jumped on for a second, including James, to kind of like, and this shows like this was like showing like the passion of behind the game. You know, like James and everyone jumped on and kind of said, "Hey, this is one of our heroes. You know, like this is like really huge for us. All this stuff, blah blah," and really like almost like without sounding cheesy, like pep talked it up. You know, so there was this big like, this is super meaningful. You know, it's we want to make it something, but it's cool to see like everyone jump on for a minute and then we kicked off. It's like really nice.
So with obviously Dash, with heroes like that, there was the young version and the old version. Did you guys start with the old version and work your way back, or did you go the other way and start with the young version and add on to the add-on, or?
So for this, we did the old version first, but the young one had to be kept in mind, I guess, because
Right.
There's the issue of, I guess, like there has to be almost a scaling effect, right, from young to old.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of size, but equipment and something in terms of clothing and outfit. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, nice. So those are the two big pieces. Now, one of the things, a little sidetrack a little bit, just to see what your feelings are. Obviously, Dash dominated the Road to Nationals season in New Zealand, and Matt Rogers took Dash to the national championship. So Dash obviously got a lot of flack from players. As much as people loved Dash, they also, reviled Dash. How do you feel about that? I mean, is this because obviously you've done art that's gone public before, but with games, people are very attached to these cards and characters. I mean, have you ever, what's your feelings on that?
I think it's super cool. Like this is like again, like I'm talking about like My Little Pony and all that. You're far removed because you're part of a team and all these things. But yeah, with Dash, it's just, it felt really good seeing it happen. And actually, I've been trying to get into the game myself. Like, admittedly, I've only played like 5 games in total. Like 2 with the Ira deck, one with a Blitz, like a Dash deck, and then 2 with Azalea recently. But I when the spoiler season for Crucible Southern had kicked off, everything was going wild, and that's when I joined the Discord. So I lurk on the Discord service and everything, the Reddit and everything. And the first thing I did was like go to the search bar and I typed in like Dash and all the cards I did and just read what people wrote and the memes around Crack Bubble and like Head Jab. But it's really cool. Like it's just so cool to see people talking about it, and having this kind of connection with the characters in the piece. I guess there is that little fear of like when I saw it kind of her doing so well, I was kind of afraid like, oh no, she's gonna be like the most hated thing and it's gonna just be meme city from here on out, but it's cool all the same. Yeah.
Now that's cool. Now obviously Crucible, you got to do more pieces than ever before, and also Cracked Bauble turned up again as a foil. So but you got to do one of the things people didn't know about Crucible is that we were bringing a bunch of young heroes in, and you got to return to Ninja with Benji. Tell us about development of Benji.
It's interesting because I guess straight to a young character, and Benji's like very young. I mean, comparatively to like compared to some of the rest of the cast, he's quite young. I think it was cool. It was an interesting time because for us here, I guess for everyone, but New Zealand was just going into lockdown. I think at that time we were just, everything had gone remote. But that's also what kind of let me do more art because I started teaching remotely, and remote has some benefits where, I just had like any time there was downtime, I could draw, I could do my own thing, I could do personal and I could work on more cards, it was just super cool. So I have some more art and stuff. And yeah, with Benji, same thing. I got more free reign on this, so more, I guess, starting from more of the ground zero with concepting and everything. Not too much else besides that. Oh, one thing was the needle. So that's something I had to consider. I guess that's something that just like with all of these, that has to be considered is how it meshes with the rest of the world, and keeping consistency, or at the same time being like a a card game, you know, with this different artwork, Robbie and the team really want artists to have their own style, you know, for each art to have, you know, its own character and stuff. And so we have this freedom to change stuff, I guess, not change, but add our style to things. And that makes it interesting, you know, where how am I going to do the needles or any certain thing in a way that I would want to do it, you know, that fits the style, that fits the scene I'm doing. Yeah. I remember, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, with all these pictures, I guess on the process side, I heavily reference, and I ask people to do the same. So I don't use 3D as something I actually want to learn, and for the sake of my students as well, because it's almost the go-to now to have 3D bases and just to speed up time. But I take references to all of them. So almost every character is either based on a photo of myself trying to do a pose or my wife doing it. And so for this, I have all these videos of me jumping like an idiot on my balcony, holding sticks. So I couldn't do this pose, you know, like.
We need that. We need that as an alternate Benji promo card one day. As you with sticks jumping on the balcony, that would be a that's for a masterpiece series one day.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, so I'll just Sam, I see you've asked a question there, but we'll wait till we get to viewer questions, Sam. So we will get to that. So yeah, from Crucible, the next piece, and certainly one of my favorites because Dash is just doing what she does to opponents. Megantic I always get this wrong. Megantic Shockwave. So this is sweet because this is just a massive action piece, and I suppose the coolest thing here is, you know, Dash is showing off what her equipment can really do there. Was this a super fun piece to do, or was it difficult doing a big action scene?
It was my favorite. It was difficult too, just because of we did many iterations, wanting to get stuff looking a certain way, and you know, when I heard of the brief, I had this composition in mind, which is kind of complex. So I wanted to making sure that all the faces would show, certain little things would be there, you know, certain tattoos, little showing that bits were flying around, still keeping the focus in certain areas. Meant lots of tweaking, but this is also like, I think, for me, a really great memory of, and not to minimize, you know, the severity of the situation, like COVID and all that, but like like that was a memory from the first lockdown where like I had the time to spend and chip away at this, and it was really nice, like I guess a good takeaway, silver lining, where I could push this picture really far. Yeah, so this is my favorite piece from that set, for sure, pushing certain things, and then seeing it come out, like, you know, how the colors would come out in foil. I know that was really cool. Yeah.
How long did you say? Because this, you said, you know, this is a complicated piece with a lot of tweaking. How long did it actually take? And are there very different versions of this still in your file somewhere?
Yeah, I've got a version where it's actually almost, the whole scene is almost cold. It's like bluish instead, and so and without all these effects in. So like all these pieces started getting laid on, and we realized we could push it further and keep pushing it until it had this feeling. So yeah, it started out kind of like a more daytime, really bluish scene, quite barren as well. Not all these buildings around, so quite empty, almost like if you were in an industrial wasteland, you know, like imagine like factory places and just empty area, like a lot,
right?
When these people are fighting. Because I had in mind I don't know, I really like Western kind of like the feeling, and so it's like, oh, it's, you know, this could be like a really cool, you know, in my mind, like gunslinger kind of feeling where it's, you know, and so also that's why there's still the smoke and all those things, and so same thing with this. I have like pictures of myself and my wife, like, you know, like photo bash together where we're all in the park doing crazy actions.
That's cool.
Yeah, in terms of time, I don't know, this one took the longest. Yeah, I wasn't keeping track. I was actually saving screenshots as I went because I knew this was going to be a big piece that I wanted to put a lot of time into, and all these screenshots that I could later compress into a video. At some point, I stopped taking the screenshots just because we were like just pushing. But I think I can go back and still compile it and make a little video out of it. It'd be kind of cool.
No, that would be very cool. I know people would want to see that. So the final big piece is from Crucible for you is the exact opposite of that one. This is a very dark bluish scene, and it's basically the aftermath of Azalea. So so changed to a completely different class here. What was the genesis of this piece?
So the same structure I talked about before with the brief and all that, but I guess this is a much darker piece. And we saw that happening like with Crucible, lots of like I guess more intensity and pushing the envelope further, which I thought was really amazing. But for this, I'm just suddenly blanking out now. There's an artist I really love, whose artwork are kind of legendary, but they also have these kind of flatter, like more flat in perspective kind of compositions, which I really like. And so it was kind of a little us mucking around with it. Like I talked to Robbie and we're like, hey, let's try something, with this flat in perspective. I just like that. Like same thing with some would call it art movement, some wouldn't. The pre-Raphaelites. So the bunch of guys who felt that
who was in the pre-Raphaelites? Melias?
Yes.
I remember. I can't remember. I've got a big book on the pre-Raphaelites at home.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it on my. Oh, you can see it over there on my shelf. I've got a near the there's a whole bunch of pre-Raphaelite books. But anyways, I just really like this stuff. And so those guys actually did quite a few things which had the flattened perspective, but they were looking at older classic works, like not classic but older works, and a lot of those featured those flattened perspectives. And they moved away from it later, but you can kind of see that, and I just love those kind of things. So we try to mess around with that, and I actually hope to do a bit more of that kind of stuff in the future. So that's what this kind of is. It breaks a little bit, but there's that flatness in certain areas, which I thought was nice. And then getting
almost fair to it's because one fan it's almost fair to because kind of like maybe Brechtian, she's a narrator, but you've got all the action is behind the curtain very much.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's nice to hear that. Yeah.
Did you have to add more arrows, or you've got a lot of arrows there? Did Robbie say more arrows? More arrows.
No, I kept
need more arrows.
I kept feeling I needed to add more, and so he didn't mention it, but I kept chucking more stuff on. I thought it'd be cool that way. Yeah.
All right. I think we've gone through most of the art here, and we have some questions that were sent in, but we do have a few questions on the chat that we'll go through. So, guys, if you have questions on the chat, we're going to put them up now. Could you maybe I think Kale's question, Ian, if you could put Kale's question up, it's quite interesting there. If you can see that, I'll read it out. This is from Kale, the 1K, Mr. 1K. He says, was it daunting knowing that Steve Argyle's character was being released the same time as yours, knowing he had a big MTG following? Must be stoked that Dash Art has gained the appreciation it has.
So I had no idea that Steve Argyle was going to have art in that set. And so when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, this is how much the product has grown, So I didn't have that in mind, but if I did, I would be freaking out. Yes, yeah. Actually, making Dash, I was freaking out, just remembering it now. And I wrote about it in that little blog, that write-up I did when I posted the picture. We'd just gotten married, my wife and I, and we were flying to Singapore and China. These trips to meet our families, that weren't at the wedding and stuff. Extended families and all that thing. And so I was carrying the artwork with me and kind of painting it on the iPad and taking it from the computer to the iPad and kind of doing that kind of thing. But like a week before I left, my computer crashed and I thought I lost all the files. And that was quite far into it. Yeah. Because the idea was I'll be on the holiday kind of polishing here and there. It's it'll be fun to just add things as I see. And I thought I lost it and so I had to reinstall the OS. And it was this mad moment. I forgot why I went on this tangent. But about making Dash. But yeah, that was like a little thing. So there's all these little memorable things, I guess, from all the sets so far. Like the lockdown let me push that one further. Like all that, just working from home lockdown, and that little crazy, moment where I thought I lost everything. When I was quite further along. But yeah, I'm super psyched of how of the reception. Dash makes me very happy.
Cool. That's from Mr. Brenzy. He has some questions coming up.
Yeah. I think that was in reference to the Benji. This is an interesting question. I think I know the answer to this, but when a card is going to be foiled, do you have any say in which parts get foiled?
So that's funny. I was telling someone about this recently. I think it was Kiki. I was going to name drop. To just say random people's names. But not specifically. But it's funny because we talk about it. So almost as I'm working on the piece, I would kind of know what could be pushed into foiling, if that makes sense.
Right. So, like for instance, that dash,
yes,
just super great with all that
stuff. Yeah. So that's definitely in mind, and I guess we talk about that, but I am not there. Like I guess actually marking up for this bit or that bit,
right.
But it's in the process, I guess. So if I did like a really shiny metal, and I push the highlights and the contrast, I kind of know that's maybe going to be something, and maybe there'll be a discussion if we didn't want to foil that for some reason, we want to turn it down, so I'll push that back. Right. Otherwise, it might look odd anyway. Something that's high contrast and not foiled when the rest is.
Yeah. Well, just a quick answer, Sam's question there is that the foiling's done by the creative team later on. I don't think that's giving away any secrets, but yeah, they do that. Now we've got a good question from Bronson's Blood in regards to Remorseless. Welcome to the podcast, Bronson. Not sure I've seen you on here before, but yes, Bronson's actually a caster as well, but I believe this is in reference to Remorseless.
Wondering what she is looking at. So the idea is she's kind of looking back, but not so nonchalantly, if that's the right word. Kind of, she might have just been looking back and just, it's kind of like a past look. Yeah, it's like nothing for her, I guess.
Yeah, just another day at the office.
Yeah, just super. Yeah. Yes.
We have to bring up this last comment just to swell. Can you see that last comment from McCaw?
No.
Just
Thank you.
Sam, you are the man. Yeah, there's plenty of fans on here. All right, let's go. I've got some viewer questions here, and I'm going to try and that have already been asked. So I'm going to try and keep these quick because there's a lot of cracked bauble questions. So Kashan, who actually has an unreleased article that he's shown me. I don't think he's put it up anywhere. And I've really got to do something with it at some point, but all about Cracked Bauble. But he asks 3 questions. Why is Cracked Bauble your favorite card? What journey did you travel on to create Cracked Bauble? And the last question, I don't think you can answer. Is there a regular Bauble? We also have I'm going to roll these into one big long question, so maybe you can just talk about Cracked Bauble. Cody Williams asks, when is Uncracked Bauble coming? Sorry, Cody, I don't think we can answer that either. And Liam Donald Fraser Quick from Australia says, how do you feel knowing that the most powerful card in Flesh and Blood is the one with your fantastic artwork on it? And also, why do you think Cracked Bauble is the most powerful card? So I think maybe you could just talk about Cracked Bauble for a couple of minutes to sate your audience before I've got some real questions. God, Cracked Bauble.
Okay, about Cracked Bauble. I guess from the art side, again, to give us, I guess, ridiculous backstory. What journey did I travel on to Cracked Bauble? I guess it's everything leading up to doing illustrations, right? And so it's weird when you do a first artwork for any like new client or studio or person or anything, you're not entirely. The bar hasn't been set yet. The expectations are kind of all in the air. They don't know what you'll create. You don't know what they exactly want. And so there was that, that kind of thing with Cracked Bauble. So it was the testing phase.
It's also a weird first image to get tested on. Right? It's not really what you'd normally think of for a card game.
Exactly. Yeah. It almost like the feeling in my mind was like it's a game UI icon. Like an item you get. Yeah, and so I worked on it that way, and I guess we pushed it. Why is Cracked Bauble my favorite card? I want to say it's my favorite card, but it's meaningful to me because it's the first one. I don't know.
That's very cool. All right, so we had a bunch of questions from Dead Summer Art or Kale Brenzy. So he's got some. He got off a Cracked Bauble
Yeah.
Well, actually, he's got a good question around crackball. So he's got three big questions. So we'll go first one. Did you ever think that your artwork for such a simple object like cracked bauble would be revered as iconic and a meme within the fab community?
No, I didn't think so. I feel like lots of my artworks have become like meme ready, or like have fit the stuff like a head jab, crack bubble, and then almost seeing like how Dash and Benji play. It's made me think like, oh, like there's just these areas they can go into. But no, I had no idea. I had no idea Fab was going to be what it is, which is super cool. Just the trajectory it's on, it's crazy. Yeah, and like saying like I lurk on the channels and stuff. It's so cool seeing how everything's been going. It's just the community is amazing. Yeah,
cool. Now, Did Samurai had another question about creating the designs for Dash and Benji, but I think you've kind of gone over that. Just asking about the creative freedom with your designs. I think his final question is obviously a good one as well. He says, any tips you can give to aspiring artists? Was there any practices or techniques that you employed to create your amazing artworks? And finally, he says, love your work.
Thank you, Did Samurai. So just stop me if I go on for too long, because I guess because I talk about this stuff every day about art stuff, so I might ramble on. Tips to aspiring artists. I feel like I think the biggest thing of all is passion. You just have to really love art. And I talked about like when I started, I was copying stuff and all that, or later trying to create stuff. As long as you like it, you'll keep going. And I think that is the main ingredient to getting through the grind, the sacrifices, and taking time out of other things so you can work on your craft, your art. This, if you want to call it suffering, doing stuff you don't want to do, maybe like if that's life drawing for you, or if that's doing life studies like painting studies or photo studies, if that's boring to you, but that's important, that's the suffering that passion will help you get through. But also art is kind of like this lifelong journey, right? Like for many artists, there's this validation they need, which is when I work in a studio, I'll be a real artist, or when I get a certain job of a certain caliber, I'll be a real artist. But then you get that job, like often I see this with studio work often, and then you realize the stuff you want to do is your personal art anyway, and that's at the end, that's why you got into art. I think one beautiful thing, without blowing too much smoke, with like doing something like for Fab, is that it's what I will be doing in my spare time anyway. So it's like it's that it's really beautiful. But the tip there is to find something that you're like, to find that passion, and it'll keep you going through all that stuff. I think that's like the key thing. Grinding is necessary. Suffering is. I like the idea of embracing suffering, but passion helps you get through it. Because I don't want to be like I've had like office jobs and stuff, and like when I think of that, no, I'm not okay with suffering. I'm not okay with the grind. I'm only okay with it with art because I like it. So it's easy to say, hey, suffer for your stuff, but when you like it, it's easy. It's passion, I think. Practices or techniques. Yeah, just cut me off if I ramble. Practices or techniques.
Good.
Cool. Okay. Practices or techniques. I come from an animation background, like I was talking about. I did 2D animation as my thing, but I guess even before that, having done like superheroes and then anime stuff, I started stylized. So I was very focused on, dynamic poses, motion and stuff. So if anything, I'm weaker on anatomy, and I think I've developed a good enough eye to massage things into place or know when something's wrong. But that, I think, speaks to something. Lots of artists often might have one but not the other. Maybe they're really good at drawing fluid, believable poses, but they're a bit exaggerated, or they're stylized, or they're not realistic. They need tweaking, or they're really realistic in their artwork. They've done all these anatomical studies. They know the science behind the artwork, but all their characters look like action figures. And I think everyone's seen those, where the characters are holding axe, and they look like there's some kind of stiffness to it. And I think it's the merging of the two. And so that's what you should be practicing on. When you're passionate about it, then look for doing rendering studies, so you learn light and form. Take photos or paint stuff from life that's relevant to what you want to do. Don't paint random things like forever, because it's good, but you'll just be wondering for a long time. But then also draw with motion in mind. So think about like draw fluid stuff, do like quick life drawing studies, quick ones where you have to get feeling down rather than accuracy, and then do the anatomical accuracy stuff. So practice. I kind of went on a tangent about actually the learning part, but practice, I guess, accuracy, practice, I guess, motion and fluidity, and also how to work with light and form, like the painting part. And I think those kind of get you there. And that's what I focus on, I think, when I'm working on my artworks, just trying to get that right. And then the other things that you can kind of massage in composition, leading the eye. These are all little like principles and concepts that you want to apply. But first, you need to have waxed on enough, to be enough like to make a Karate Kid reference, like done enough of the foundation work so that you can actually get the vision on paper. Only if it's fun. Don't grind nonstop if it's boring you to death. Jump around and do stuff you like too.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
if that makes sense.
All right, cool. We have a couple of quick final questions. Aaron Houston asked 2 questions under 2 different accounts. But I'll say this. I'll just read this out. Aaron Houston asks, he says, by the way, Sam, would you consider doing any individual card alters?
Oh, I don't know. I've never thought about that. Yeah, that's completely like I don't have an idea of it yet. I think I'd be up for it, but I just never thought about it. That's cool. Thanks for asking that. Makes me feel good.
Now, a couple of people have asked, and Ian keeps on asking me to ask you, and I keep on forgetting. People that you need a Teklo Foundry hat. I believe Ian knows where one is. And yes, so you need Foundry hat.
I've heard through the grapevine. Yes, I do.
Yeah. We'll sort that out for you. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Although Aaron Houston points out that Matt Rogers, national champion and card merchant owner, probably owes you a Teklo Foundry hat for all the success, which is based purely on your art that Matt has got over the years. So all right. For everybody out there worried, Ian has a plan to get a Teklo hat to Sam, so we'll definitely sort that out. All right. Well, Sam, thank you for all that. And now we go to our favorite piece. Now, for everybody that's watching, you don't have to stop the cast at this point, because Kirk's Corner for today, I can guarantee. We will ask Sam the question we always ask, I guess, who's your favorite wrestler? But we have asked Sam to come up with Kirk's Corners, and he is not a wrestling person. In fact, Sam shamelessly told me that he, in fact, turns our cast off as soon as me and Ian start talking about wrestling. But I suppose that's why we do it at the end. So let's go quickly. First of all, who's your favorite wrestler, Sam?
Okay. Can I not name a favorite, but at least ones I know? So same line as with there being comics and all that stuff. Like I guess I watched it peripherally. So as seeing as a kid, I only know of the Undertaker. I don't know what that means.
That's all right. Totally fine.
Okay.
That hits me right here, since Undertaker is my man too. So.
One of Alan's favorites.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So you got there. Awesome. All right. So what is your Kirk's Corner question? What do you want to propose for Kirk's Corner?
So I was thinking to throw a few things at you guys, and whichever sticks we can go into.
Sure.
I guess we could talk about video games, any kinds, or I really like horror movies. Are you guys into those? Or even recent TV shows? Yeah.
Horror movie.
Alan just spent last month going to the Hollywood every other day for the horror movie.
Yes.
All right, so shall we? What are your favorite horror movies then, Sam?
Okay, so do we go into spoilers, or we keep it pretty clean and just
keep it pretty clean?
Keep it clean.
I think recent ones that I've really liked. I liked It Follows a lot. It caught me off guard, but I really like that one. It Follows. I like Hereditary. I think everyone kind of likes that one though, right?
I think Hereditary people are pretty divided on Hereditary, because it's an intense family drama, and then Demon Prince Resurrection storyline. But why? I don't know why. Sorry, I've forgotten her name. Australian actress. why she
Oh.
didn't get like an Oscar nomination that year.
The mum, is it?
remember.
Is it the mum we're talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Australian actress, most famous for Muriel's Wedding.
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette is an amazing actor, and her performance in that is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy good. Yeah, I agree with you. Did you like Midsummer?
Not as much, but I liked. I don't want to say. I love the cliff scene. That was amazing to me. That scene. Yeah, that kind of blew me away. And I know someone who actually turned it off at that point. But I felt like I think I didn't have enough context. I didn't understand the idea of even a midsummer. And so what happens? And then the like, I guess like Viking references or something. I'm not sure. Like I didn't have that connection, and so I saw it without understanding some of the nuances and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also like it because it's very much a folk horror, and one of my favorite horrors of all time. I don't know if you've seen it, is The Wicker Man.
Yes, you mean
Yeah.
no? I've only seen the Nick Cage one. You're talking
Oh
about
my
the
god,
classic.
I haven't actually seen the Nicolas Cage. No, you need to see. I mean, John Wood, Edward Woodward, Ingrid Pitt, Christopher Lee. Who else? There's so many people. Yeah, no, the original Wicker Man.
The original
is
okay. I'm going to watch
fantastic.
that. Actually,
it's fantastic.
I really like the Nick Cage one only because I hadn't seen the classic, and so when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then I just find out, oh, it's like this is where all the memes come from.
the bees.
Yeah.
There wasn't a strong emphasis on bees in the original film. I'll tell you that. If you're a bee fan, maybe you'll be disappointed. You'll be like, "Where's all the bees at?"
A movie I really like. I guess it's not really horror. I guess it tethers on it. Is it the word? Doctor Sleep. I know some people don't like. It's not. Yeah, I really like that one. It's like kind of fantasy. Like has a I guess fantasy element to it, which I liked. Like
I haven't seen that, but it's got Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson, and I love Rebecca Ferguson, especially since she's in the upcoming Dune as well.
Oh right, is that the lead actor?
She's the lead. Yeah, she's the lead villain. She was in the Mission Impossibles as well. Some number of Mission Impossible films as well.
I've seen this. I don't remember.
The big Dune remake as well.
I recommend checking it out. It's fun.
Where did you get into horror films? Or I mean, is it just a casual passing, or have you always kind of?
I think I've always been. I used to be really scared of them as a kid, but like my parents let me watch them just as a really young kid, so like Exorcist and all those things. And I still remember the head turning and walking backwards, seeing it really young. And I think I kind of watch it as like I grew up religious, and I'm not anymore. And so I went from being really scared of the supernatural to seeing it as like fun fantasy, a fun thing. I like a really interesting writing and stuff you could go into. And so for me, that made me like it so much more, where I kind of watch horror as this kind of almost like a great platform for interesting ideas. I think that's cool.
Well, horror films have always been very progressive, so I mean, there's always an element of that. I mean, Ian, you must have one horror film that you don't mind watching. Ian hasn't been left out because this is.
I'm not a huge horror fan, so okay. I'm gonna really wuss out here. Have you guys seen The Krampus? It's a family film, but that's dark. That is dark.
Horror comedy, right?
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, but dark.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, I'm a big fan of horror comedy.
If I'm gonna watch horror, I'll watch horror comedy. I'm not a big jump scare type guy, so.
Yeah, well, I think my favorite probably my favorite horror, probably up top of my top 10 horror films of all time which is a black comedy, is Return of the Living Dead, written by was it O'Banion, who passed away a while ago, and that's like a perfect it's got a great soundtrack. It's got this amazing punk soundtrack, and it's about as dark and humorous as you can get, or like a Reanimator. Brian Usner's Reanimator, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, they sound familiar. Are they older movies? Might have missed that.
Yeah, definitely. They're both like early 80s. Reanimator is great because it stars Jeffrey Combs, who's like one of the I think the best horror actors of his generation. Certainly Lovecraftian actors, but yeah, no, horror is definitely my thing. The Hollywood and Avondale just before Christmas is doing a sweet double feature. You should check. They're doing Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Black Christmas as a double feature.
I don't know those.
They're both. Oh well, look up Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's a very meme-worthy film, especially the part 2, which actually is a clip show of the first film for the first half of it. But yeah, it's got a Silent Night, Deadly Night has axe wielding Santa Clauses, and Black Christmas is the one with was it dormitory girls in an American college, trapped with a killer in the house. I think they remade it. They remade it. They remade it recently as well with I'm trying to think who is this, but yeah, they remade it but completely changed the plot on that one. So yeah, no, I love. I'm totally horror obsessed to be honest. But I know it goes back to my childhood. I remember being taken. I was given to my grandparents to be taken away for school holidays, and we stopped off at like a uncle's friend's place, and there were some people in another room watching Peter Jackson's Bad Taste on video.
Oh yeah.
And like my grandparents were just there for ages, and I just was like, "What is this?" And boom, in my mind. So a lot of fun.
I used to be terrified of Chucky when he was burnt. Spoilers, I guess. I'm really old, watching as a kid, and being like, I guess, like that kid, and so.
Child's play. That's one thing I must admit I have a rough time with these days. Ever since I became a father, I have a lot of anxiety if I ever watch a film in which a child is in peril. It really gets to me. I sometimes even have to stop watching it. Like before, I could watch children killed in their dozens, but since becoming a father, it always gets me there whenever there's something like that. I have to look away from the screen. Yes. Yeah, always a bit rough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are. No, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
I was going to say that's one thing that I feel makes certain movies really fun as well. When there's that relation, I remember there's this movie. I don't know if you heard it called. It's not the best movie. It's called Vacancy or No Vacancy, and it's a slasher. I guess minor spoilers. I guess like premise spoilers, where a couple check into a motel and they find all these tapes and they start watching the tapes. Turns out the tapes are like snuff films of people getting murdered, and then they realize, hey, the room they're getting murdered in is the one we're in. But as a viewer, you kind of, as someone, when you travel and stuff, I guess everyone has this idea of like, what would I do in this situation? And that one really hit me, as in I just couldn't figure out what I would do besides panic the way they were doing, and it made it like really, really powerful for a slasher, for over the top silly thing. Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's cool. All right, sweet. We're just reaching the hour mark. So Sam, yes, I'd like to thank you for coming on the cast. I hope everybody that's watching learnt a bit. But hopefully, just even sitting here, I've got some ideas. We've got a Radio Reflex Christmas party to organise, and we should get the Radio Reflex Krampus party. But we should try and get you along, because I know. Obviously, Aaron Newson is waiting to give you a business proposition to alter his cards by the sound of it. But people would love to get some. I do know you have signed some cards for people, but it'd be great we might see if we can get you on board for our Christmas party.
Totally down.
And maybe people can get some cards signed and stuff like that. I'm sure people would love to talk art with you. So we might organise that for the future. But thank you for coming on board, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, this was super fun. I'd be keen to come back anytime. To talk about whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be about art. We can talk about Krampus and all the. Just over and over. But yeah, cool.
So what we should do just before we end is Sam, if you'd like to do all your plugs, how people find your art, find you online, if you'd like to plug away.
Sweet. All my stuff is the same. So if you search Sam Yang Art, ART, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all that. I mostly just post on Instagram and Twitter, and that's the best way to contact me. Instagram, really. But yeah, that's more or less it. ArtStation, the same thing. And I stream sometimes. I'm super inconsistent, but I'm trying to get back into it now with, yeah, I say that every time. But yeah, you might catch me on the stream. Yeah. But thanks for checking in, everyone, and watching this too. And you guys for, I guess, having me. Super, super fun.
Excellent.
I'm just realizing now, looking at your window, that it's bright outside because I have my curtains closed and I keep thinking it's like night. Is it bright outside?
No, I think that's actually correct because I look outside and I can only see grey clouds at the moment. So I think it's some kind of weird reflection.
Polarized, reflection.
Oh yeah, it would be. All right. Well, thank you all. We'll be back next week with. I'm pretty sure there's most likely some things coming up, and me and Ian need to talk our Blitz escapades.
Next week, next Saturday, is the Mighty Eight, tournament. So we will be going along to that as well. So we'll probably do a little bit of a spoiler for what we're going to play for that. Cool. Excellent, Sam. It's been a pleasure having you on, and we definitely will hit you up to get you back on the cast at a later date. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, folks, for watching.